Welcome to Business with Beers, a podcast for business owners who want to scale their business to massively grow their income and contribution by investing in people, process, and technology. I am your host, Brian Beers. This week, we got an awesome show with Wyatt Graves. Wyatt is an entrepreneur, a coach, and the host of a podcast called The Mentee. In this episode, Wyatt shares some of his biggest learnings from interviewing world-class mentors on his podcast. We talk about how to find your purpose by surrounding yourself with successful people who will then support you and help you grow. Wyatt's mission is to educate and inspire people to live the good life. Wyatt and I have a great conversation about creating that future of your life and yourself, which is the person that you will be 3 to 5 years from now. And the key is to start taking steps today to act like that future self. If you enjoy this episode, please share it with your friends, rate and review with your favorite part to help us reach more people. And if you'd like to learn more about the topics covered in this podcast, check out brianbeers.com to sign up for my free weekly newsletter, delivering great content directly to your inbox. Welcome to the show, Wyatt.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, this wouldn't be Business with Beers if I didn't ask you. We're at a bar, having a drink. What are we drinking?
Oh man, I feel silly whenever people ask me that question because I'm just a normal, good old Southern Louisiana Miller Lite kind of guy.
That's fine.
Nothing
That's
fancy.
Fine. Nice cold Miller Lite on a hot day sounds appealing.
Yeah, we have a clubhouse in our subdivision, and man, they have the coldest mugs. And so you get it on draft. It forms a little ice across the top. So good.
There you go. Perfect. So if you could share your story, who you are, what you do, and go from there.
Yeah, awesome. I am a dad. I'm a husband. I've got 3 kids. I've got a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 5-year-old. Married to Janae. We have been married 14 years. I am a real estate agent by trade. Got real estate licensed right outside of high school. It was supposed to be my college job. Always knew I wanted to be a business owner. And so I went to college to get a degree in business management and entrepreneurship. Ended up buying a childcare center just after starting college and getting licensed to sell real estate, which is where I found the daycare for sale. And that kind of took me on a path that really was unplanned. We hit it really well on that first school that I bought. And I thought if I did it good and strong in that first one, let me do a second one. And I did a second one. And then I said, let me do a third one. And before I knew it, I was in a job that I really didn't enjoy that much. But it was well, looking back, it was a lesson to be learned for sure. Anyway, that was 21 years ago, that started. So since then, I've started a real estate team. I never really quit the job that was supposed to get me through college. I did finish college, and between then and now, I've owned a franchise called Mosquito Squad, where we installed mosquito misting systems in folks' backyards. We did the misting once a month. I've owned and started with some of my buddies an HOA management company where we managed homeowner associations. Grew that to be the largest one in Louisiana, and then into Mississippi and Alabama with some of my best friends. Started doing property management through that same company. And where I'm at today, I'm actually the team leader and CEO of a Keller Williams franchise here in the greater Baton Rouge market. And I still own my team and just venturing into some joint ventures, such as a mortgage company, title company, looking to do an insurance company as well. And then on the side, I have some real estate investment deals also. So.
Okay. Are you still involved in some of those other businesses, the HOA and mosquito business?
I sold out. So one of the things I failed to mention is that in 2018, I met Jeff Woods over at The One Thing, business partners with Gary Keller. And we became buds. And he had a podcast and a membership-based community called The Inner Circle. And the podcast was The Mentee. So that opened up some doors, and certainly that relationship did too. And so I sold out of my interest in the HOA management company so that I could buy that platform and that podcast from Jeff, because the joke is if you can't be the vice president of the one thing and have two things. So he he sold me the Mentee podcast platform and the membership-based community, which is much in alignment with my goals and my passion with helping people, teach people, expose people to new ideas, new ways of what we said, living the good life. So sold out of that HOA management company. I also sold out of the franchise, the Mosquito Squad franchise. That was not in our wheelhouse at all. Still have the team, Kaizen Home Sales and Services. It's been a very good season for us this year and last year. We opened it actually in 2018 because our town flooded in 2016. We had over 100,000 houses and businesses that flooded, and that sort of took me out of the game for a little bit. I focused a lot on new construction in my career in real estate sales, and so all of our developments flooded, our builders flooded, the subs flooded. Anyway, so I came back out after the flood and started Kaizen. So I've still got that, and I have sold, and thanks in part to the flood, I sold some of the remaining childcare centers that I had, and I just have the one that was, quote, the one. It was my dream school. It's one that my kids go to. It's in the community that my wife and family we're actually relocating to that community because it's just a great community, and it's where our dream school is. So, and of course, I still have some of the real estate investment properties.
Okay, great. So for those who don't know about The One Thing, could you give a brief overview of the book and of the concept?
Yeah. It's the surprisingly simple truth to achieving extraordinary results. And it's a mindset, it's a framework, basically that's based on think big, act small. Success happens over time, and when you get focused on your purpose, and then you can prioritize, and then you can start to be productive. And so it's just it's a way of goal setting, really. It's got the book. It's a book, and then there's a company and a podcast behind it. Tons of resources. They have a goal setting retreat, which is where I met Jeff. It was the first goal setting retreat that they did, and man, I did that right after the flood. And inside of The One Thing, they have what's called the goal setting to the now process. And it's really the way that successful people set goals. They think way out into the future. Where do I want to be someday from now?
Yep.
And they get really clear there, and then they just reverse engineer that. And when I did that at the goal setting retreat, what I learned is that key relationships, and the thing about The One Thing that's so appealing to me is that it's not just business. It's not just finances. It's they've got 7 circles that they talk about, and key relationships is one of those. So I'm really clear that someday from now, key relationships above all else is the most important category that I want to be winning in. And for me, when I reverse engineered that, what do I have to do today such that by doing it, everything else is easier or unnecessary, and I win in the category of key relationships, and it's time. I have to spend time with my people. So that's sort of a long answer to a short question, but that's what prompted me to want the Mentee, to start coaching and really launch Kaizen again, is just to help coach and teach people how do you maximize time and wealth.
Okay. Yeah. And then you simplified too, right? You had all these things that were distractions possibly from that core of what your primary focus and skill set are. So,
for sure.
So what is your purpose? What's that one thing for you that kind of sits above all these activities?
It is to help other people live the good life. And people would say, what's the good life? And I've been in coaching conversations a lot. And when we go down that trail, basically, if you had all the time in the world but no money, probably would not be the good life. And if you had all the money in the world and not enough time to do what you really want to do, it's probably not the good life either. So how do you have this abundant lifestyle where you have time and money and basically do what you want? I tell this to my employees, I tell it to my partners, tell it to customers. The number one regret of people who are near death is that they wished they'd had the courage to live the life they truly wanted and not the life they thought other people expected them to live. So my purpose is to help people decide for themselves what their good life is. And it's different for everybody. But don't let circumstances, don't let past experiences, the people around you programming dictate how you show up today. Intentionally think about your purpose and go out and live it. So my purpose is to help inspire people to live their purpose.
How do you think people discover what that purpose is?
Man, that's a good question. And what I would say, and you and I share this, this membership-based community over at GoBundance, you have to expose yourself to other people, other conversations. The Mentee, the podcast that I run, it's based on the quote from Jim Rohn: "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." And what I've learned, I actually learned 2 things in college. 1, how to write a paper. And 2, people don't know what they want. They only want what they know. Yep. And so the idea then to discover your purpose is to just get into conversations with other people. Expose yourself to possibilities and other opportunities and other ways of living and what it means to live an authentic, genuine life. And when you start exposing yourself to those conversations, growth happens, clarity begins to set in, and you can discover your purpose and start to live it.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's great. Growth happens right outside your comfort zone, right? So if you always live in your comfort zone, you're not growing. And especially getting around other people, getting yourself in uncomfortable situations with rooms of people that maybe you think you don't belong, but then you realize, you have a lot in common and you're getting excited about the things they're talking about. Right. And then you can start to explore that.
No doubt, man. I say all the time, I'm the poorest person in GoBundance. And it really comes down to this. It comes down to courage, right? A lot of people think that you have to have, what do they say? They say you have to have confidence, right? Just have confidence. And the reality is that confidence comes from success, right? When you have a success, then your confidence grows. Yep. And the only way that you can have a success is if you act with courage. And so courage comes from being around other people who encourage you and who won't judge you. And so if you get around people that won't judge you and that will be empathetic witnesses for you to take risk and encourage you to take risk so that when you fail, you learn and you're not stunned, then you take a bigger risk. And then finally you have a success. And that's where courage, that's where success and confidence, is born. So it's just getting around the right people.
Yep. Who then supporting and helping and, being a mentor and coaching, right? Instead of people who may have negative energy and are telling you, all the reasons you're going to fail.
That's exactly right.
Great.
Or the reasons they don't take the risk. It's the reason they stay average.
Yep. So they want to bring you down with them. So your podcast, the Mentee, you bring on world-class mentors to help people, live this life. What are 3 things that you've learned from all these people you've brought on that you would like to share?
Oh man, that's a tough question just because we've brought on such a broad scope of people. I'll tell you that some of my favorite conversations, well, they're all good. I love getting clear on your future self because I really believe that is
a good one.
I believe that's the foundational truth to live in the good life, is to get clear on who you want to become. And the reality is that who we will be in 3 years from now, we cannot even fathom who that person will be. And we can either design that person and grow into that person, or we'll just become the default person that life is going to create. So I love any conversation that I've had with any guest around how they have gotten clear on their future self and then did the things necessary to grow into their future self.
I've heard it's like acting like, for me, Brian 3 years from now, like when I make a decision today, is that the decision that Brian 3 years from now would make, right? And thinking about like that in terms of, especially as business owners, we want to scale, like, we want to start to delegate, we want to start to, maybe not get involved in the weeds as much and micromanage. And it's thinking, is this the person of the future? Would he do this? And probably no. And then, putting the things into place to make it happen. So
for sure. The other thing would be exposure and just how important that is. That's one of the reasons that I love to have those conversations with folks, because I learn so much. I mean, there's so much I don't know. And so just having conversations with strangers, mentors, and of course, having the podcast and a network gets me connected with people that have had and are having extraordinary success. And when you get to have a conversation with those folks, you learn how they think, how they planned, how they designed their journey to get where they're at. And so exposing myself to some of those lessons has been a really awesome opportunity. And just thinking about the third one, I would say that it's the most recent season of conversations that I've had, which is the law of attraction. And you think about the future self that you want to become. Oftentimes the people that are around you, they don't know who you want to become. Like, they're friends with the current version of you. They're not friends with the version of you that is 3 years or 5 years from now. So when you begin to behave from your future self, for me personally, there's this apprehension that what are people going to think? What are people going to say? And how do I foster those relationships that I need for 3 years from now, or let some of those relationships go? And what is it on the inside of me? What kind of work on the inside that I have to do so that I can attract the right people that I need, that I want in 3 years from now, 5 years from now? So that'd be the three things.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, thank you for sharing. So I want to talk about your company a little bit. It's Kaizen Home Services. And, Kaizen is the Japanese term for continuous improvement. I think the Honda and the Toyota of the world, right? That's the foundation of building better and better vehicles. So talk to me about, maybe some strategies that you've identified that have worked in your company in order to find what those opportunities are, and then how do you improve on them?
Well, I said earlier that I've spent most of my career working in the new construction world, new construction sales, and how I brought Kaizen to the table in that capacity relative to the customers I serve. They're mostly smaller mom and pop builders. Historically, they've built 25 to 40 houses a year. And we never really had a big production-based construction company in South Louisiana until we did. And when we did, the smaller builders were being squeezed out of the market. And so what I was able to do is connect with the right group of people who we worked together in terms of serving builders and helping builders improve their business. And that became my niche as a real estate agent, was from a business coaching, consulting standpoint on how do you compete with bigger production builders. And it was this constant mindset and a conversation with, hey, what's our competition doing? How can we pivot? How can we refine what we do on the inside so that we can stay relevant and sustain our jobs? And so that's been, probably a 15-year run now.
So you're a builder. You were helping other builders.
I'm not a builder.
Or not anymore.
No, I never was.
Okay, you just worked in that.
Correct. So I was a licensed real estate agent. And my niche, or my competitive advantage, was helping builders scale their business. And as I did, that's how they continued to list with me. And the more houses that they could build based on the profit and the absorption rate, the more listings I got. And so it was from that approach, like almost a business coach, that I was able to scale that business and build it.
And what were some of the advice you had from them? The guidance to help improve their business?
Well, I would tell you that a lot of it was getting systems. Instead of just building a business and building houses very entrepreneurially, based on your own strengths and skills. Let's look at software. Let's look at scheduling systems. Let's look at cost. Let's look at Let's vet different floor plans to figure out which ones are more affordable to build. Let's look at the right square footage with the right price point, the best margin. And then ultimately what it really allowed us to do is to form an unofficial co-op where we could go out and negotiate the 100-lot takedown, and then among 3 to 5 builders buy pieces to add up to the 100-lot takedown. And that way we could compete with the big boys who were taking 100 lots at a time. We began to be able to do that as well. And then what we did as the real estate company was we listed all of our builders' houses and we marketed them as one unified subdivision with a portfolio of floor plans. So it really wasn't a matter of what builder do I want to build this house. It was, hey, I want that lot, that floor plan. And then I managed on the inside who got the opportunity to build that house. And it allowed us to maximize absorption rates, which allowed us to then eat those lots and go out and buy more and more. And so everything that went along with saying, here's our floor plan, here's our standard feature sheet, helping builders to deliver that in a predictable, consistent manner was things that we did to help the builders back then.
Okay. That's interesting. Do you still have that niche now?
Still do. Now my builders have learned, and now they have hired private coaches and consultants because we're scaling to the next level, and I'm scaling beyond just at the rate that they can scale. So we'll sell, my team is on target to sell about 400 houses this year, which would put us at the top 5 agents in our market of about 4,000 agents. And of that, we'll probably sell about 150 to 200 new construction houses.
So half,
and
almost.
About half, yeah. And most of those houses will be from 2 builders. And both of those builders have been builders that I've been working with for a long time.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a great business model for you, right? Because everyone else is kind of like competing probably for the same listings. And you've got this funnel of builders who, just generating, building, you're helping them, right, to build inventory that you're then going out and selling.
That's right.
So, you're kind of this vertically integrated to a degree, but then you're, obviously you don't have the risk of actually building the properties as well.
That's right. And it's also created the opportunity for us to find deals. So now we're finding the dirt and we're finding the opportunities to bring to the builders that keep us, that keep our bats full so that we can continue to produce the units. Okay. That's great.
Talk about what is a challenge or a failure that you've had throughout your career, and what'd you learn from it?
Well, I went broke in the Great Recession, and that was a tough pill to swallow. It was hard. We were selling. I had scaled up to 7 childcare centers, and was highly leveraged, and the real estate market was booming. So I was counting on the real estate profits to fund the startup of the scale in childcare. And when the recession hit, real estate sales plummeted and people were unemployed.
Yep.
And when you're unemployed, you don't need childcare. And when you've committed to all these leases and overhead expenses,
payroll,
it just didn't work, right? And so having a plan is huge. And I would also say, which is why I love the Mentee podcast, I never really had mentors. I never sought out mentors. I did all of that in the first season of my career, very, very entrepreneurially. Did not seek input for business plans. Just was rogue.
Is it because you didn't think or know you needed a coach, or is it because you thought you could do it on your own without it?
Yeah. I didn't think I didn't know. That's ultimately I had not been introduced to this idea of a mastermind.
Right. Yep.
Or coaches even didn't really know about coaches, didn't know about all that. It was just, my mom had opened a childcare center and it changed our family, lifestyle. We grew up paycheck to paycheck and sometimes below paycheck to paycheck, until she opened a childcare center in 1995 and finally didn't make minimum wage. And so I thought, well, if she did it, I can do it. And so in the real estate world, I found one for sale. I knew a banker and got the loan, did the deal, and all of a sudden I'm a business owner. It worked well, so let's do it again. And I just didn't have the infrastructure that I should have. The other thing, and it's sort of what we've already touched on, I lost some agents, some pretty big agents at the independent firm that I was running. And, or I shouldn't say big, I should say influential. And it was a big deal when they left. It was ugly. They were ugly and dirty, and it ended up in a lawsuit. And so it caused me to ask myself, why did this happen? And what is my responsibility in this? And I did seek out a mentor, and he was a 70-plus-year-old man that had been in insurance sales. And he said, Wyatt, you've told me what you do and how you do it, but you haven't told me why. And that was the first time I had been introduced to Simon Sinek. And he pointed me in that direction to go watch his YouTube video. And I did. And that's whenever I started to clarify my purpose and realized that I was seeking to deliver my purpose in way. Well, this is what he said. He said, you've got two choices. You can achieve your purpose by marching through a jungle using machetes, or you can achieve your purpose in a sports car on a freeway. Which way do you want to go? And when he said it like that, it caused me to think in certain ways. And that's when I began to get out of the childcare business from a high level.
Okay.
And that's when I started to sell off some of my schools, because the regulations, the staffing, the challenges there are just so hard. And I can be much more impactful in other ways without having to be the owner of that many childcare centers.
And I guess probably your why for running them perhaps wasn't that strong at that point.
No, it is. It is to impact and inspire other people to live the good life. And so taking care of those kids, like I know that a kid is who they're going to be when they turn 5. Like from birth to 5 is everything.
Okay. Yep.
And so having that experience and teaching our teachers and our workers to take care, and parents, that birth to 5 is the most critical years of a person's life. I just wasn't able to do that by owning 7 childcare centers.
Yep. And now you have a bigger impact with what you do.
Yeah. Now I can, even inside of the Keller Williams world, I teach Quantum Leap, which is a huge class on success. And it's a great curriculum that Gary came up with. And so, on the Mentee podcast, I've had a foster kid that is 17 years old, and we were able to connect there. And that has prompted me to get involved with other foster care organizations that are local, and to teach these kids that are teenagers and even young adults the science of success. And I also teach employees at other businesses. So the podcast, right? That's why that podcast works so well for me, because it's a channel that allows me to teach a lot of folks about the science of success without having to actually be the childcare director.
Yep. And it's a lot more scalable.
Exactly.
Right? You can touch a lot more lives. So, successful people have a commitment to executing good daily habits, right? What are some habits that you have that you think have attributed to your success?
I have always been an early riser. So when I read The Miracle Morning by Hal, who's another GoBundance member, I was just like music to my ears, and it actually refined the process a lot more. So being an early riser, being a learner and open-minded has been huge. So just always seeking first to understand, then to be understood. That's just part of the habits that's built into my world. And over the last couple of years, it's been physical health. When you do the one thing goal setting process, I might discover, and I did, that if I'm in physical health, then I can show up for those relationships a lot better. I can do a lot of things better when I have committed to the habit of exercise and eating right and taking care of my body. So exercise is a big habit that I have. I would say exercise, morning routines, and inside of the morning routines would be journaling.
Yep.
Those are 3 habits that I think are paramount for success.
Yep. Yeah. Miracle Morning is a great book for anybody who hasn't read it. I've gotten a ton out of it too, and follow a similar process. So great. So talk to me about what's next. You got the 3-year future self of Wyatt Graves. What does that look like?
I want to take a company public.
Okay.
Is what I'm focusing on right now. So in the real estate world, I'm assembling my troops, the people that want to come be a part of this journey and create something that we can in 3 to 5 years take public. Learning about what that looks like. So there is space for that to change and evolve.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it would to grow a company that's worthy of going public. It is a lot about real estate sales and the transactions that we're assembling in our team. And then the mortgage, the title, and the insurance company that we're partnering with other highly successful agents to partner with. It allows us to have, the way I describe it, it's Plinko at Price is Right. So when you have a transaction, you start at the top, every little peg that it hits is a business that I want my hands in. And it's not just about me, but it's about creating opportunity for all the people that have believed in me and that are part of our team and that grind and work with us. It's how can I bring them with us and grow this into a great opportunity for a lot of our stakeholders. And in that, I'm learning about syndication and private equity and what it looks like to create sort of this private equity fund that these stakeholders could be a part of, that all these companies funnel into, that then goes into real estate investing and really bringing our portfolio to huge new levels of real estate investments.
Okay. What do you own now? What's your investment portfolio look like?
It's relatively small. I have 2 single-family homes, and then I've got a trailer park that is 10 lots. It's actually 10 lots, but 3 of the lots 2 of the lots are comprised of a duplex, and one is a little 1-bedroom single-family home. So I've got 7 lots that we'll put the trailers on. I just sold. I had about 10 acres and 3 dwellings on it, plus some lots. So I just had that divided, sold it. And now we're looking at some trailer parks. Okay. To buy.
Okay. Is that kind of your niche or the asset you want to go after?
I'm really interested in it. Yeah. I'm really interested in it. The margins here, which is interesting. You look up the best states to invest in and the worst states to invest in relative to trailer parks. And I just got this manual the other day from somebody that's built a massive portfolio in trailer parks. And so I look at it. I go to the first page I go to is those states that you want to stay away from. Number 1 on the list is Louisiana.
Perfect, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, this is about right. But the margins are really good, and I just really think that affordable housing it's already a big topic, but I think it's about to grow, especially with the current climate that we're in with housing and interest rates and affordability and everything that the pandemic really, accelerated. I think that affordable housing is about to become an even bigger topic, and there's no better opportunity for affordable housing than a trailer park, a trailer inside of a trailer park. So with that being said, in my mind, relative to our vision, if we get into the trailer park world, it is an opportunity for us to coach, teach, help those people become homeowners in single family. And then I'm connected with builders who's building, right? So it creates this sort of funnel that allows our businesses to grow and to thrive and also provide a need in the affordable housing sector. That's great. Sort of how all that fits together.
Are there builders that do build more affordable housing, or most builders, want to go for the higher end?
One of the builders projects that I represent is affordable builder. We have townhouses in the 170s.
Okay.
Still in our market. And then the other builder is primarily high twos and into the threes, which is, it used to be more that the $300,000 price range used to be for people that were well off. And it's just really not that way anymore. Prices have just went up so much. And we've got, I would say starter homes now are easily in the twos.
Yep. Okay, great. Any books that you'd recommend? We talked about The One Thing, The Morning Miracle. Any others that people should check out?
Gosh, I read all the time. I just bought for the first time. I haven't read it yet, but From Good to Great. I just bought it. I haven't started that yet. Let me look on my Audible, see which ones I've got. Rocket Fuel changed my world as a business owner after the flood in 2016. I just re-listened to it. Rocket Fuel was incredible. Vivid Vision, simple read, short read, but the importance of knowing where you're headed so that you can recruit the right people to help get you there. That was a book. I'll tell you, I'm glad I'm looking at this. So Green Lights, Matthew McConaughey.
Yep.
That was just a good, fun read. I don't really read a lot of non-business books. So for me to read that book is different, but it was a fun read.
And Audible, he narrates it. So of course
I listen to it on Audible.
It's even more entertaining.
And then a staple that I would say that is driving the topics of our conversations in my team and in my community is Cash Flow Quadrant and Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think everybody should read that book. I wish I would have read it 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I would be in a completely different place. So if I had to read any one book, I would say Rich Dad Poor Dad, followed by Cash Flow Quadrant.
Great. Yeah, those are all good recommendations. So where can listeners connect with you and find out more about everything that you're involved in?
Then go to the Mentee.com. That's probably my favorite place to connect. It's got the most broad audience. We've certainly got the podcast, The Mentee. But the Mentee.com is where you can find me. Wyatt at thementee.com is my email address. And then we've got a public group on Facebook, and we've got a private group we're going to start. I'm teaching a class or recording a class right now, a course called Building the Good Life. And so we'll launch that hopefully in the next 30 to 60 days and really relaunch our private mastermind community that Jeff started called the Inner Circle.
Cool. Fantastic. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing all your, your wisdom and your knowledge. And you've had a great story, and I'm excited to see what you do next.
I appreciate it, man.
All right. I'll talk to you.
See ya.